Have you ever heard of the iconic Christmas song Greensleeves, the Protestant Reformation, Queen Elizabeth I, or one of the most haunted places in the world, the Tower of London? Well, all of these things have one woman in common, and that would be Anne Boleyn. King Henry VIII is one of England's most famous and notable kings, largely due to his 6 marriages with 6 different women, and one of his most popular and talked about wives was Anne Boleyn, his second wife. I became really interested in Tudor history and England's history in middle school, and I was really intrigued with Anne Boleyn. I read many books about her, listened to podcasts about her, and watched YouTube videos about historians talking about her and her life. Anne Boleyn's early life in the French court, her romance with King Henry, her motherhood to Queen Elizabeth I, her effect on the Protestant Reformation in England, and her execution continue to intrigue historians. Anne remains a very divisive and elusive person, and many still argue about who she really was and how she was. According to author Lauren Hubbard, the exact year of Anne's birth is unknown, but she is believed to have been born between 1500 and 1510. Hannah Alblake, author of Yale University's article, stated that she spent her childhood in Hever Castle in Kent, England. When Anne was a teenager, she moved to France to work on the French court. Her experience in France made her very exotic to many English people when she moved back in England in 1522. In France, this is where she was introduced to many reformist ideals and intellectual figures that made her question the Pope's authority and advocate for the separation of England from the Catholic Church. Hannah Alblake also described her as being dark-haired and dark-eyed, which attracted many suitors when she was young. Henry and Anne's romance began when he was still married to his first wife, Catherine of Aragon. Lauren Hubbard also stated that since his marriage to Catherine had not produced a male heir, he began seeking an annulment from Catherine in 1527 to marry Anne. Hubbard noted that Henry's obsession with having a male heir would be a very strong reason in his marriage to Anne, and he believed that Anne would produce him a male heir. Hubbard documented that the Pope at the time refused to grant an annulment to him and Anne, but they married in secret on January of 1533. And that same year, the Pope eventually granted an annulment and declared his marriage to Catherine null and void in May of 1533. And in June of 1533, Anne was crowned Queen of England. That same year, Anne also gave birth to her only living child, a daughter named Elizabeth, who would be known as Queen Elizabeth I, like we know her today, in September. Anne was instrumental in the England's conversion from Catholicism to Protestantism. When Anne entered the picture, Henry wanted to divorce Catherine, which sparked his ideas of separating from the Catholic Church altogether. Anne was the first person to show Henry that the papal authority could be challenged. According to Kelly Dixon, she showed him a copy of William Tynald's The Obedience of a Christian Man, which made him believe that the king's authority was only second to God, and he should no longer have to answer to the Pope. This idea gave Henry the inspiration he needed to write the Act of Supremacy, which he wrote in 1534. Anne's influence gave England a strong reasoning to separate from Rome. Dixon also wrote that Anne advocated for the Bible to be produced in English because during this time it was only produced in Hebrew and Latin, which made it very inaccessible to lower and working class people because they were not educated to read and write in that language. Dixon also noted that in 1539, Henry authorized the first official copy of the Bible in English. During their marriage, Anne unfortunately suffered several miscarriages, and this made Henry very angry because he so desired a male heir. Author Mikey Mayhew stated that on May 2nd of 1536, Anne was arrested and put into the Tower of London on charges of adultery, incest with her brother, and conspiring against the king. She has now been proven to have been innocent of all these crimes. After her trial, Anne was executed on May 19th of 1536 at the Tower of London. According to Mayhew, Henry VIII showed her some mercy by switching the method of execution from burning to beheading. He hired a famous swordsman from Calais, which is a place in France, to perform the execution. Mayhew noted that the executioner performed the task in a French way by using a quicker and sharper blade than the brutal axe used in England. Instead of laying the victim's head on a wooden block, they would just be kneeling and be blindfolded. The swordsman took a few days to come, which made Anne very uneasy and nervous. Mayhew indicated that before her beheading, Anne gave a short speech about how King Henry VIII was a loving and kind prince. Mayhew noted that Anne was very composed and calm throughout the whole process. She knelt and was blindfolded, and the execution happened very, very fast. Anne Boleyn, as a historical figure, is still talked about and discussed today. Despite King Henry VIII's very long rule, his wife, Anne Boleyn, continues to be what most people associated him with. Anne Boleyn's influenced British history through her youth in the French court, her effect on the Protestant Reformation, her motherhood to Queen Elizabeth I, and her execution. Despite her relatively short life, Anne's legacy has lived on through British history and influence, and she continues to be remembered and discussed by historians still to this day.